Welcome into the Big Chief Show on Chief Studios right here on YouTube. I'm your host, Fred Davis. Glad to have you guys on board. Week 1 of the NFL season is in the books. We're going to talk some Chiefs. We're going to talk a little bit of Chiefs today. Obviously, the big news that came out was Chris Jones finally. I mean, they say he signed a 1-year deal, but basically all they did was just add some incentives to the last year of his contract, which it basically means that this is the last year you're going to see Chris Jones in a Chiefs uniform. It begs the question, what on earth was all this about? When you look at the incentives, and we'll get to those later on in the program, I mean, you can't tell me this wasn't something that couldn't have been worked out months ago. But I think ultimately what it means is that the Chiefs and Chris Jones are going to go ahead and call it let's go ahead and give it one more try. Let's go ahead and run this year out. And then let's see what happens at the end of the 2023 NFL season. But I think that pretty much means that Chris Jones, enjoy it while you got it this last season, folks, because I don't think you're going to see Chris Jones in a Chiefs uniform after this year. I think maybe when it came down to the numbers he was looking for, did he want Aaron Donald money? And then, of course, when the Bosa contract came out, and his $120 million guaranteed, I don't know how much of a factor that played into what Chris Jones ultimately wanted. We'll never know. I do know from reports a couple of weeks ago, he was looking at that 3-year, $84 million range, which I think would have put him at like $27, $28 million. And for whatever reason, that was never agreed upon. So we'll never know. I mean, I shouldn't say we'll never know. I'm sure we'll start to see snippets of it. And then, of course, maybe a year from now, when the season's over, we'll hear exactly what went down with the negotiations. But the Katz brothers, who, like I said, look like extras from a Bad Sopranos remake, not really sure what exactly their final say so is in all this, and be hard pressed to see them getting any kind of NFL players again, because again, it was a goofy deal. All right. I mean, yeah, he's going to end up. I mean, he can make up $25 million with the incentives, but a lot of that's going to depend on what the Chiefs end up doing in the playoffs. And of course, look, Week 1's in the books. We're going to get to that here in a second. So we'll save some conversation about Chris Jones here later on in the program. We've got a big week this week. Jake Asman, one of my former co-workers at SportsMap Radio here in Houston. He's now back in the great state of New York. Diehard Jets fan on top of things. And, of course, we're going to have him here in just a few minutes talking about what went down last night. You want to talk about a bookend for a Week 1 of your NFL season. Your reigning MVP apparently didn't have anybody that knows how to catch the ball. You've got a Detroit Lions team that's on the up and up, and they proved it on Thursday night to the rest of the NFL world. And then you bookend that with a guy who's a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers. Much ballyhooed. Everybody's excited. Can't wait to see what he's going to do with the New York Jets. And then he's done after 4 plays. It was an absolute, and it was sad. All right. And look, I'm not a Jets fan. I'm a football fan first and foremost. And I was anxious to see what Aaron Rodgers was going to do. Not to mention, too, I drafted Garrett Wilson in a couple of my fantasy leagues because I'm expecting big boy things out of number 17, especially when you've got Aaron Rodgers throwing to him, right? I mean, he said he was special during the Hard Knocks series. So we're thinking, all right, he's about to have a monster season. Not to say that he still can't, but it's going to be a whole lot different now that he's got number 2 throwing to him. And without further ado, let's welcome to the program just one of the all-around good dudes, okay? And I'm not just saying that because he's on the show with me right now. This is one of the all-around good dudes rocking his Jets gear. I would expect nothing less from the Ass Man himself, the one, the only, Mr. Jake Asman. You can find him on the Jake Asman Show on YouTube. Go subscribe to it. You will be glad that you did. And, of course, over there on ESPN NY 98.7 FM. Jake, we're about, 24 hours removed from the eternal heartbreak. Just what was going and look, I know you're the one that usually asks these questions, but now I got to ask you, what in the hell was going through your mind when you saw number 8 go down last night?
I'm still trying to process it, Fred.
I bet you are.
I mean, I don't know if I'm ever gonna process it, man. Like, my voice is so hoarse. It's surreal. It's horrible. I mean, like, every emotion I have felt over the last 24 hours. It's just the word that keeps coming to mind is just cruel, right? You have this whole off season of hope and you get a quarterback who wanted to be here, who took $35 million less to play for the Jets, who went to every OTA, every practice. Hard Knocks is covering them. There's legitimate excitement around this team for the first time in over 10 years, really, since Rex Ryan was the head coach the last time they were consistently good. And it's just gone in 4 plays. And they won the game last night, and they have a great roster. And I'm so glad like the country got to see what I knew as a fan, that this defense is stacked. Breece Hall's an alien. Garrett Wilson's a superstar. Like they have a really good team, man. But it kills you that they're done. I mean, like the dream of a Super Bowl, which was a legitimate possibility. I think if people saw last night why, that goes out the window, and that's just a terrible feeling. And I especially feel terrible for Aaron Rodgers, who obviously did everything right, and it's just to see it end 4 snaps in, then he snaps his Achilles. It's just it's the ultimate gut punch.
No, it was. And look, it was, like I said, man, anybody that's a football fan felt it last night, right? I mean, the Jets are one of those franchises that, and I say this to my buddy Bitter Mike, who's a diehard Raiders fan. And of course, you know what a disaster the Raiders have been for the last 20, 25 years. But like you said, the thing about the Jets that's changed over the last 4 or 5 years is that, Joe Douglas has put together one of the best rosters in the National Football League, short of a quarterback. Now, that being said, we saw this defense last night, which looked as incredible as you could ask. I mean, look, like you said, the energy was depleted. You bring in Zach Wilson, and we'll get to him in a second. But I don't think enough can be said about the performance from that defense last night. Look, we can talk about Josh Allen, and we know that there's going to be issues and conversation about him. Has he regressed? He's starting to kind of have that Brett Favre gunslinger mentality. But that defense, Whitehead played out of his mind last night. Sauce Gardner played out of his mind last night. That defensive line, you guys have guys at every level of the defense. My question for you is this defense good enough? And dare I say, I think back to that 01 Ravens team when you had Trent Dilfer as the quarterback and you had a defense that was stacked. Look, I'm trying to help you out here. Could that be the blueprint for what this team could do if they're going to make a run?
They're going to need to get more from whoever the quarterback is. If it's Zach Wilson or someone they bring in, the defense is great. The defense will keep them in every game. But this was last year all over again. I mean, last year they won 7 games with combination of 9 games of Zach Wilson, the corpse of Joe Flacco, Mike White, who was actually solid before he got 5 fractured ribs. It was not the same by the time he got back second to last game of the year. They're going to need to get more from the quarterback spot. The defense is great, but how they won last night, Freddie, it's amazing. The 4 turnovers they forced was incredible. Whitehead with the 3 picks. Quinnen Williams dominated this game. Jermaine Johnson looks like he's going to be a star. I could keep going on and on about how much I love this defense, but how they won last night, you can't win every game getting 4 turnovers and a touchdown on special teams. You're going to need, let's say, Zach Wilson for now to play better. He's going to have to, if he could just be average, if he could just be mediocre. I think with the running game they have with Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook, and just target Garrett Wilson 10 times every game, and he's open. He'll make plays. They should have enough, but Zach Wilson was just so bad last year that I have the scars in my body that just, to think you're going to have Aaron Rodgers, now you're going back to Zach Wilson. It's just as a Jet fan, I'm not able to process it. I'm out of words to describe how I feel, because it's just devastating knowing that our season is once again in the hands of a guy who last year statistically was the worst quarterback in the NFL.
I will say this about Zach Wilson last night. Now, your offensive line, there's a lot of question marks. I mean, hell, you and I have been, I think Dwayne Brown was in Houston when you and I first started in Houston for as long as this dude's been around. That being said, Zach Wilson, I will say this, he made some good throws last night. There were look, he threw a couple of nice passes to Lazard. He threw a couple of dimes to Garrett Wilson. But at the same time, too, look, he was under pressure a lot last night. I guess my question is this. Do you feel at least a little bit encouraged that, look, that was a game you guys would have lost last year and Zach Wilson would have shit the bed? I thought, all things considered, under the situation, under the circumstances, Zach Wilson did about as good as you could expect him to do in that situation last night.
Yeah, totally fair. And, I'm very down on Zach just because I think part of it
Which
is
is
like,
fair. I get it.
it's just,
it.
it's just part of my frustration. It's like, I didn't think I had to watch him play anymore. Like, I went to the Hall of Fame game in Canton this summer. I'm like, it's the Zach Wilson Invitational. It's stress-free. Don't have to worry about anything. And now here I am. Like, I'm going to Dallas this week for Jets Cowboys, and I got to watch Zach Wilson again. So it's like, it's killing me. That being said, he did make some nice plays last night, especially after that brutal interception. The old Zach Wilson would have completely, as you said, crapped his pants, would have been terrible from that point on. He actually played pretty well from that pick on. He made some key throws on third down. Now, the throw to Garrett Wilson, where Garrett Wilson had one of the most unbelievable catches ever, like, I can't give Zach Wilson credit for that, right? But, he's got the weapons where if he could just manage the game, I mean, they beat one of the quote-unquote better teams in the AFC last night. Like, they could win a lot of games that way. I guess I got to look at it like this. They have better weapons around them. I think the O-line is better now than it was last year once you give guys some time to gel. Like last year, no one was complaining about the Jets O-line when they started 5-2, and Breece Hall was on his way to winning Rookie of the Year before he got hurt. If you keep those guys healthy, and Zach Wilson with better coaching and Nathaniel Hackett, maybe Rodgers could help him, maybe he could be average. And if he could be average, I'm not saying they're going to be the Kansas City Chiefs on offense or name the team on offense, but if they have a average offense with this defense, they should be good enough to win 10 or 11 games and still be a playoff team.
Well, the difference is you guys have guys that can actually catch the ball versus the Chiefs offense, which apparently don't have anybody that can catch the ball right now. So I would argue that you guys might actually be in better shape right now from a receiving corps standpoint than what the Chiefs are in.
But you guys have a tight end that's dating Taylor Swift, apparently, I read today.
Did you hear that news today?
That's a big deal.
That's a huge deal. I don't know how I feel about that right now. To be honest with you, I'm a little nervous about that.
I just wonder how Travis pulled that off, if it's true. Like, he got her number, but how?
They're quietly hanging out. What does that even mean?
Well, like, she's been on tour, so like, is she flying into?
No, the leg is over. That first leg of the tour is over. She goes. Trust me, I read about this today. I mean, this tells me where I'm at in my life. But the first leg of her U.S. tour is over. She starts. She goes to the South America part of her tour in November. So she's got a couple months.
So is she coming into Kansas City? Like, is she going to like Joe's KC for some barbecue? Like, what are they doing?
What is she doing about his bone bruise? Okay, I mean, look, I'm not. This is one of those deals where right now I mean, this is great for Travis Kelce, but right now, I mean, look, the Chiefs have bigger questions than what's going on with Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Okay,
they do, but there's a lot of questions with that need to be asked as well.
Would that be the biggest story in the NFL if Travis Kelce's dating Taylor Swift?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would have got a lot more play today if Aaron Rodgers didn't die on the field last night,
That did hog a lot of the news today.
Yeah.
That was
just a little bit, man. I couldn't sleep last night. My voice is shot. I've been slugging on Hennessy all day here. One of my listeners last night comes up to me in the parking lot with a full bottle of Henny. I'm like, I'm going to use this, man. I started drinking this at 9:30 in the morning. This is bottle
Jake,
number 2.
You've been sipping on the hand after last night?
Yeah, this is the second bottle. We just cracked open bottle number 2 earlier for my other live stream. Yeah, I went through a full bottle over the last 24 hours by myself. I'm that depressed, dude.
Jake, I didn't know you were a hen guy.
Anything is possible, Freddie.
Rumor has it they reached out to your boy Henny.
I saw that. Yeah, I mean, look, they could do worse than him, I guess. Like, I don't want Joe Flacco back. He's a corpse. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he came in last year and obviously, bailed the Chiefs out in that drive in the playoffs. But you bring in Chad Henne, like, I just feel like it's going to lead to more Zach Wilson. Like, I really want a Jacoby Brissett, Taylor Heineke type that like has won games in the league. Like, just be average, and they could win some games with that guy.
Do you see a situation where they will kick the tires on something like that on a Taylor Heineke or a Jacoby Brissett?
I hope so. And if you really want like the big move, the two teams I'm looking at, and it's going to have to be closer to the trade deadline. The Jets have their bye after week 6. The trade deadline is after week 8 on Halloween. It's a Tuesday. If the Rams fall out of it, the Jets were in on Stafford last year. Reports came out over the weekend. And then the other team, what if the Vikings are just, Kirk Cousins, you're a free agent at the end of the year. Last year was kind of fool's gold with our record. We're going to blow it up and we're going to draft our guy. Would they maybe trade him? So, like, if you want like a true, quote unquote needle mover type of move, those would be the guys like Heineke, I should say, and Brissett. I think they make you better, where the Jets might be like, well, we believe in Zach Wilson. We took him second overall, so we're just going to see what we have in him, and it might be too late to make that move. So I hope they had someone, but based on what Salah said today, it kind of sounds like they're going to give Zach Wilson at least these next couple of weeks.
No, it certainly does. And I guess it's one of those deals, you look at what they've got coming up. You're at Dallas this upcoming week. Then you've got the Patriots at home, the Chiefs at home, at Denver, then the Eagles, then the Giants. I mean, look, do we really think Dallas is as good as we saw on Sunday night? Or are the Giants that abysmal? I think it's more about the Giants being that abysmal. I mean, look, are you going to tell me that you think that the Giants, what we saw from the Giants on Sunday night, I would argue that I'll take a Zach Wilson-led offense and at least be competitive against a Dallas team more than what I saw from that Giants team Sunday night.
Yeah, and I also think the Cowboys strike me as a team that could be a little overconfident. Like, I actually like the fact that the Jets are getting them after that big win. Like if they had Rodgers, I'd pick them in the game, no question. But, I think the Jets will compete. I mean, their defense will keep them in every game. That's what's so frustrating. Like I saw this last year, man. The Jets defense allowed 18.5 points per game. There were 4 games Zach Wilson started last year. He had a 5-4 record. So Zach Wilson actually had a winning record as a starter last year. In those 4 games, the Jet defense allowed 3 total touchdowns. So they actually lost a game last year against New England where they didn't allow a touchdown on defense. They lost on a walk-off punt return, ironically enough, how the Jets won last night against Buffalo. So, I basically say all that to say that they're going to be in every game. If Zach could just be confident, they could steal a win in Dallas. It wouldn't be the most outrageous thing.
Taking a quick look at week 1 of the National Football League, we kind of touched on the Chiefs a little bit. Like I said, I mean, you got to feel confident that at the very least, I mean, for as much as he had to run around, for much as he didn't have, Travis Kelce, and of course, we don't know yet what the latest is on Travis Kelce outside of his dating life, whether or not he is going to play on Sunday. Are you at all concerned from what you saw from that Chiefs receiving corps?
I have learned by now just not to completely overreact to week 1 when it comes to like established teams. Like as long as the Chiefs have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, like I'm not counting them out. I refuse to. I still think those guys are just too good. Now, I do think there could be some concern with the receivers. Like Kadarius Toney, I could have told you the guy is not a good football player. I know he had a great Super Bowl, and you don't ever apologize for winning a ring, but I have doubts on him. But if you tell me they get a healthy Kelce back, they'll figure it out because it's the Chiefs. But that could be a team that maybe does need to make a move for a Mike Evans, someone that becomes available closer to the deadline. Because it does kind of feel like, and you would know better than me, it does kind of feel like maybe they're one receiver short just to kind of solidify themselves as like the team still in the conference.
Well, look, I mean, I'm watching that game last night against the Jets Jets and Bills, and I'm thinking to myself, like, look, the Jets, right? I mean, look, the Jets would give the Chiefs fits right now defensively. All right, because look, already. Look, with the personnel that the Jets have, you're going to double Kelce all day and make those other slapdicks beat you, and that'd be hard. Look, the Lions, they couldn't do it to the Lions, right? And look, if we saw anything from last night, we're still questioning the Chiefs' pass rush. Now you did get Chris Jones back, so that'll help too. But I guess my thing is, and look. I want Zach Wilson to succeed. I really do. There's something about that kid. Look, I watched Hard Knocks. He seems like a good kid. He's had a hellacious start to his NFL career, and I don't mean that in a positive way. But I wonder if getting that game under his belt, being next to Aaron Rodgers, and I feel like with Nathaniel Hackett's got something to prove. Look, if Nathaniel Hackett can somehow, some way make Zach Wilson a capable NFL quarterback, and look, I'm sure people are laughing at me saying that, but if he could do that, dare I say, that would make his blemish in Denver not look so bad. If you tell me he can turn Zach Wilson around after what happened last year, maybe it's the goatee, I'm not sure, but look, you could do a lot worse.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll say about Hackett too, people were like, he's just Aaron Rodgers' friend, and that's how he got the job. But people forget Nathaniel Hackett was the offensive coordinator for that Jaguars team in 2017 that went to a championship game with Blake Bortles as the quarterback. Yeah. They had a top 10 offense. They had, I think, the number 1 rushing attack in the league that year with Leonard Fournette and company. That's kind of what the Jets are going to be now, right? Like Zach Wilson kind of has to be Blake Bortles. Don't lose the game. Take care of the football. You have Breece Hall. You have Dalvin Cook. You got Garrett Wilson. You have an elite defense. Like, you have a great kicker in Greg Zuerlein. They actually have a punter in Thomas Morstead. Like, like I can convince myself they're still going to be a good team. I think they're not going to tank. They're not going to lie down and be awful.
No.
They won 7 games with no quarterback last year. They could probably win at least 7 minimum again this year. But it just kills me, Freddie, because I'm saying all this. I'm talking about how good the roster is, and it's like, man, they had Aaron Rodgers, who was all right there to compete in the AFC, and now that went out the window last night. It's just it is so bittersweet because it was one of the greatest games I've ever been at in person as far as the atmosphere, probably the best home Jets game I've ever been at from an atmosphere standpoint. And it's just, we deserve better as fans, man. And to see it all kind of blow up 4 plays in, it's just, it's unreal to fathom.
Well, look, I'm riding on the Jets bandwagon regardless, just because like I said, now that everybody's hating on your boy Zach Wilson, I'm jumping on it.
I hope you're right, man. Look, he's got talent. And no one can. You don't get picked second in the draft without talent. You know,
the kid can throw the ball. I mean, look, like I said, he made some good throws last night. I just you just wonder if can the offensive line keep him healthy? And like I said, you've got a great running game. Although, is it just weird? Dalvin Cook looked slow last night.
Yeah, first game back. I wonder. And the Bills have a good defense too. Their credit. Breece Hall, I think, just skews everything, man. I mean, what is he? He's leading the NFL in rushing on 10 carries now. Like it's kind of insane.
Where was Mecole Hardman last night besides not playing?
So
he's
kind of like their quasi like third or fourth receiver depending on the packages. If you notice when Rodgers got hurt, they didn't want Zach Wilson to really do much. So they used 12 and 13 personnel. They had 3 tight ends out there on a lot of plays, only 1 wide receiver. Like they were clearly, and we're going to run the ball and we're going to use our tight ends. And like in that scenario, Hardman's not going to be out there. So we kind of got the short end of the stick from a game plan standpoint.
No, I was going to say, haven't seen him with the Chiefs for the last 4 or 5 years. It's not uncommon to see him not on the field. Week 1 in the books. What I know you're up against it. Give me a couple games that stood out to you, and what was kind of outside of obviously the biggest news of the weekend. What was kind of your takeaway from Week 1?
Man, obviously the Jets beat the Bills, but Chiefs obviously lose Week 1. The Bengals go down Week 1. Like the quote unquote 3 top teams in the league in that conference, I should say, they all lose. And look, it's Week 1. You don't want to completely overreact, but certainly bears watching. And then you look at the NFC, man. I mean, the Niners going on the road to Pittsburgh cross country and shellacking the Steelers like that. Is that more about the Niners, or are the Steelers maybe not as good as what people thought? I mean, it's Week 1. You never know, but like thinking about some of the games, we already talked about the Giants game, of course. That was insane. Like that early slate where Pittsburgh gets destroyed by San Fran, that was something.
One last thing too that kind of caught my eye, and if I'm the Chiefs, and plus they, the GM from the was it Ryan Poles, the Bears GM. Look, Justin Fields, and like you said, you always got to put that asterisk out there. It was Week 1. Justin Fields still looks horrible, all right, as a thrower, okay. And Jordan Love, I'll tell you what, look, let's not crown him just yet, but my God, he didn't look bad on Sunday.
Yeah, look, here's how it's going to go. He's either going to be unbelievable and he'll be the Jets quarterback in 2038, or he's going to be terrible. And he was really good in Week 1. So if we project that out, I look forward to probably coming back on this show 15 years from now after Jordan Love tears his Achilles 4 snaps into his Jets career.
Well, let's hope by then you and I are, maybe on big networks. By then. We'll just do it that way. But real quick, tell the folks at home where they can find you and where they can find your show.
Sure. YouTube, Jake Asman, you find the Jet Show there, and you can hear me on 98.7 ESPN New York.
Jake, my man, you'd think for as many years we worked together, we would have actually done a show together, but better late than never, my friend.
Hey, man, sometimes you got to wait for the right opportunity for greatness, and we waited. And here we are.
Jake, always a pleasure, my friend. You're one of the best in the business. I don't mind telling anybody that. And we miss you here in Houston.
Appreciate you, Freddie. Great to talk to you, man. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure, brother. Always a pleasure. Jake Asman, everybody. Make sure you go give him a follow at Jake Asman. You will be glad that you did. All right, the guests keep coming. Let's welcome to the program just one of the all-around good dudes, okay? The one, the only, Mr. Henry Thomas.
What is happening, people? How's everybody doing? Everybody cool?
Henry, I need you to turn your TV down. Your TV's blaring in the background.
My TV not even on. I don't even know what you're talking about. I was having a bingo game in the next room.
What's that thing you like to say? You got hit in the head a lot?
I hit in the head a lot, man. A lot. Oh, check it out. Look from the nostalgia.
How about that shirt? How about
the HD show?
That is classy, my friend. That is a classy.
Pull it out of the mothballs, baby. What's going on with you?
Well, I'll tell you what. Look, it's good to have you on board. And look, I know.
Glad to be here.
What's that?
So I'm glad to be here.
I know you are. Well, look, at Henry Thomas NFL, go follow him on Instagram because Henry Thomas has let the world know that he is happy that football's back. And of course, what a weekend of NFL it was. Like Jake and I were talking about, you had a bookend of the world champions looking like, it was almost like the roles were reversed. The Chiefs looked like the Lions and the Lions looked like the Chiefs Thursday night in that home opener. And then we bookended it with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time snapping his Achilles 4 plays in, and then somehow, some way, and I know you can appreciate the defense that was played last night, because I'll tell you what, even if you weren't a fan of just okay quarterback play, those D-lines got after it last night.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing to watch for me. I mean, I watched it between, bowling my strikes, what have you. But I did get to watch it. It was great. It was unfortunate to see Aaron Rodgers go down the way he did. But Zach Wilson came in. What's his name?
Zach Wilson.
Yeah, Zach Wilson came in and did an adequate job. I mean, he didn't do anything spectacular, but he didn't have a bunch of bonehead plays. That's what's kept them from losing the game. The defense, this defense of theirs is going to keep them in a lot of games, but it's not going to be strong enough to carry him. He's going to have to develop, and he showed, the quarterback showed enough that I feel like he learned from the short time that Aaron Rodgers was there. Yep. I mean, he made a couple of mistakes, and he just came right back with poise and tried to keep control of his team. So I'm loving it.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was the one thing that really stood out to me, was that, he threw that dreadful interception. You're sitting there thinking to yourself, right, like, who was he throwing to on that? But, whereas, the one thing about last year, it seemed like anytime Zach Wilson would make a mistake, they'd pan over to him on the sideline, and how the kid looks like he's about 15 years old anyway, but it looked like the kid was about to start crying. Whereas this year, he's mixing it up with his teammates. He's high-fiving them even after bad plays. And, like Jake and I were saying, when they gave him time to throw, he put the ball on some guys last night, because let's call it what it is. Look, Garrett Wilson is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. All right. I mean, he's a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. Allen Lazard looked pretty dadgum good last night. So you've got pieces on that offense. Breece Hall looked incredible last night. If that offensive line, look, I'm not saying, and I threw this out there, and you tell me if I'm crazy or not. Look, I think this Jets defense is going to be one of the best in the NFL. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be Baltimore Ravenish from the 2000s good, but could you follow that same kind of script if you're the Jets moving forward? Whereas, look, we all know, and Trent Dilfer, it's not like Trent Dilfer was anything special. Or is this defense just not that good enough?
No, the defense is that good enough, but they're gonna wear down. They're gonna wear down, plain and simple. They're gonna be on the field too much, and for its greatness, what did the great guy said? Fatigue makes us cowards of us all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna beat them down. I mean, and you're gonna get it's human nature. You're gonna be in week 8, week 9, saying, "Damn, can we get a touchdown? Can you drive the ball? Can you keep it more than 5 plays?" You're gonna get frustrated, and you're gonna have to have a coach to keep them in line. But they're gonna get tired if the offense doesn't pick up. Like you said, they got good pieces around them. But again, you said if they give him time, well, any quarterback in the National Football League, if you give him time, will put the ball on quick. Well, maybe not Mills. Maybe not. Anyways, but most of them, you give them time, they're going to put the ball where it's supposed to be.
Davis Mills owes you money or something, man. I'll tell you what, you are just not a Davis. I mean, we're not even talking about the Texans, and you somehow found a way to work Davis Mills. You work shitting on Davis Mills in almost every football conversation we have.
Okay.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I'm not sure what Davis Mills did to you, but I appreciate that. Look, you got that just real quick, and we'll put a bow on the Jets talk here in a second. You're at Dallas, okay, who I don't think is as good as we saw on Sunday night. All right. The Giants were, to call them abysmal would be an understatement.
Yeah, they were terrible.
Tell you what, did you watch any of that Patriots-Eagles game?
Yes, I did.
I'll say this much. It's amazing what happens when you give a quarterback an actual offensive coordinator. Number
exactly.
one. Okay. Like, look, I know the cool thing here in Houston is to shit on Bill O'Brien, and rightfully so. But look, the dude knows a thing or two about offenses. Maybe he's a better OC than he is a head coach. Time will tell. But that Pats offense, especially the way they went down 16-0, to come back. Now, granted, it was Tom Brady day, so maybe that played into a factor. I don't know. But the defense bowed up in the second half. They made some plays. Hell, they got the ball back. I mean, hell, they gave them the ball back with a chance to win the game in the last 2 minutes.
Absolutely.
They just couldn't get it done. So, but at the very least, look, that's going to be a tough game for the Jets. Then you're home to the Chiefs, at the Broncos, then the Eagles, then at the Giants. So they've got.
That's a tough road. It's a tough road, and that's what I said about the defense going to be fatigued. They're facing some powerful big teams. I mean, not that Dallas is going to be a powerhouse offense, but Dallas has a good defense themselves, and they're gonna put the tester on Zach because they have guys that can rush the passer, not one, but the whole front.
Hold on 1 second. Let me get this. Your boys experimenting with some setups here at the Trap House 2.0. So you'll have to come by and check out the new layout. But all right, so you got the Jets. What game stood out to you over the weekend as far as from a okay? And again, it's week 1, but how much stock do you take into week 1?
Oh, I took a lot of stock because there's expectations. There's history of how bad somebody was, or how did he turn the corner. Take, for instance, Love. Oh, my God. Just been sitting on the bench all this time. You think he didn't suck up some knowledge from watching Aaron Rodgers? No matter what the antics that Rodgers was doing off the field, the way I watched this young man play on Sunday was impressive. Granted, he was playing against the Bears, but it's still an NFL team. It's still an NFL game. He looked impressive. Another game that was outstanding was watching Miami and the Chargers. I mean, they went blow for blow.
I was going, well, yeah, if you like offense.
Well, if you like offense, exactly. But the question marks for Tua, he threw some unbelievable passes. And I don't know what kind of off-field trouble Hill has. He don't show on the field because he was killing
it. Behind him, much like most of the Chargers' defense was on Sunday afternoon.
Absolutely. And it was just to see that explosiveness out of both offenses and to see Tua doing as well as he did. And, of course, watching guys that I had a small hand in coaching a little bit with the defensive front of the Lions, watching those guys, it was fun watching that.
Well, I noticed you didn't mention that you also worked with the Dolphins too.
I did work with the Dolphins, and I was a tad bit. I was impressed with the.
They didn't soak in as much as the Lions did, apparently.
The thing that the Dolphins didn't do as much as I think we worked and watched was they didn't get off blocks. They dominated the blocks, but they dominated them in the wrong, like glued on them too much. Even though they're 2 and 3 yards back, get rid of him. Go to the ball player. Don't wait so long. They seemed a little cautious. But towards the end of the game, they started getting after it, registering a couple sacks back to back, putting the pressure on and rattling the quarterback. That was impressive.
You can't win them all, Henry Thomas. You can't win them all.
Oh, no, I can't. You're not going to win them all. But, you got to hold your own with the ones that you don't win.
They still won the game, though. They still won the game, and that's what
matters. Won the game. That's what mattered.
And look, you're getting – I mean, not to say too much here, but obviously, look, when you get positive feedback from the coaching staff of the people you coached up, that's got to feel good.
Yeah. Feels great. Feels really good. I was disappointed in – at first, I was going to be disappointed in Kirk Cousins and the Vikings, but then when I looked at the actual stats, I was like, he was the second highest throwing quarterback of the week.
Yeah. It wasn't an offensive issue.
Wasn't an offensive thing. So my boy, Coach Pat, down in Minnesota, I'm hoping he moves up to D-line coach, instead of assistant and get them boys right.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, he may be moving to D coordinator. If things keep going the way they're going. One of the things, and let's talk about this real quick. Chris Jones. Everybody keeps saying he signs a 1-year deal. Basically, they just amended his deal, is all it was. We knew he was on the hook for $19.5 million. I'll share this with the folks here. So basically, all they did, Henry, was add incentives to his contract, right? So now he can make up to $25 million this year, right? And again, here's the incentives that he has to meet in order to get to that $25 million. So,
this ought to be good.
So, and some of these, he's going to get. Well, and of course we say that after watching what happened last night to Aaron Rodgers. $1 million for 35% playing time, another $1 million for 50% playing time. So 2%. So he'll get $2 million. He should just for playing the whole season, right? An extra $2 million, 21.5. He gets $1.25 million if he gets 10 sacks. Then he gets another $500,000 if he gets 15 sacks, right? So he'll make $1.75 million if he gets 15 sacks, right? Which he's already missed one game. So
whoa. So you get $1 million for 10 and only another 500 for 5 more?
That's it. That's it. Again, not sure who was the driving force behind these incentives, but again, then this is where then of course where the real funny money comes in. And look, as a Chiefs fan, hey, I hope he cashes this in. $1 million if he's a first-team All-Pro, and $1 million for a Super Bowl appearance, and then he gets $2 million for a Defensive Player of the Year award and a Super Bowl win as well.
It's a lot of money.
I mean, it's a lot of ifs. I mean,
it's a lot of ifs.
But that's okay, Henry. That's what I'm trying to get at, right? I mean, look, you played the position at a very high level for 14 years. You know how hard it is to get sacks. All right. I mean, look, we talk about, it's we always talk about how it's hard to hit a curveball, it's hard to hit a fastball in baseball. It's hard to get sacks on a quarterback. I mean, look, I get it's a friendly league these days. It's a pass-friendly league. But Henry Thomas, it's not like, 10, 15 sacks are just automatic.
Yeah, it's not like those guys on the other side ain't trying to stop me.
That's what I'm saying.
They getting paid too. So it's well, how many? What's his most in the year anyway? 12.
He's coming. No. He's had 2 years where he's had 15.5 sacks. He had 15.5 last year. Last year was his best year ever.
Okay.
Best year ever, right? But my question for you, Henry Thomas, and this is where this is kind of the thing that. And look, we get it. Chris Jones is a freak of nature, and look, when he was sitting in the box, in Kansas City on Thursday night, you look at that dude, and of course you see his hands, and you just see his whole body, and you're like, that's a large human being, right?
Right.
But my thing is this: we saw one of the things that I noticed in week 1 was you can tell the guys who didn't play preseason and who sat out parts of training camp because they got off to a slow start or just didn't look that good as a whole.
Right.
How good do you expect Chris Jones to look? Now, granted, he's probably going to be in practice, today? If he signs his contract today?
Oh, yeah, he'll be in tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. So you figure, the game's Sunday. So when's he actually going to hit for the first time? Tomorrow? Or do they even
tomorrow?
Hit
tomorrow.
And that's the only day they hit, right?
Yeah, that's the only day they're going to hit is tomorrow.
So he's going to get a little bit of run tomorrow. And then what? Walk through position stuff on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then the game on Sunday.
Exactly. So he's got to be ready to go. I hope he is. But first couple of plays to get him going, it's tough to. I never had the opportunity to not playing in a preseason. My whole 14 years in the preseason, I played at least 4 or 5 series every game of every preseason.
Even your last year in New England, you played all preseason?
Oh, yeah. Nobody was given you were a starter. You played at least 2 series, no matter what.
Really?
I mean, how else are you going to get the feel for the game? Yeah. Sitting on the side, because I know after I had my 2 series or 3 series and I was out, and I wasn't in that game. I was like, oh, who got a sack? Oh, he ain't gonna be here tomorrow. I hope somebody saw that on film. I hope it was a good move.
So I guess my thing is that I guess just the getting back into the flow of the game and everything like that, taking a hit and all that good stuff. I mean, so look, I don't expect to see much out of Chris Jones on Sunday. I guess it's one of those deals where, like I said, look, you're behind the 8 ball a little bit because you're trying to get those incentives and what have you. What would be a good stat line for you, or what do you expect to see out of Chris Jones on Sunday?
Who do they play on Sunday?
They play Jacksonville.
Oh, he's going to come out with 2. He's going to have 2 sacks.
Oh, let me write that down.
He's going to have 2 sacks and about 3 to 5 solo tackles.
He's got a ball. This is kind of like a contract year for him, isn't it?
Not necessarily. See that this first game of not playing and not hitting, he's got fresh legs, baby.
He does.
He's coming off the ball like a beast for at least a good quarter and a half, and then he's gonna be. It'll catch up, but that first quarter, he's gonna be a monster.
Okay. Well, they're gonna need it now. If you're in that Chiefs locker room, all right, after what went down on Thursday night, what are you saying to Kadarius Toney? Are you talking to Kadarius Toney? And more importantly, it's almost like, I'm not going to say it's been the blueprint, but look, if you're the Chiefs or if you're a defense facing the Chiefs, you're saying to yourself, look, we can double team, hell, maybe even triple team Travis Kelce because we're not worried about – there's nobody else on that roster from a receiving standpoint that worries us one bit. What do you tell? What's kind of the conversation inside that Chiefs locker room, especially on the offense?
In the Chiefs locker room all week long, people are going to be going by him, throwing shit to him. Just hey, man, I wasn't looking. Catch it. Everybody, I'm telling you, with Jake Reed, his first year being the beast that he was in Minnesota, big, strong, fast, didn't catch the ball very well.
Yeah.
And guys on the team, like after week 3 or 4, they always toss stuff to him. If he asked for something, it came through the air. Nobody handed him shit. Everybody was picking stuff to him because he had that kind of talent, So, and that's what's going on in the Chiefs locker room. People just walking by, flicking things at him. Here's a towel. Here's some socks.
Were you surprised at some of the? Were you surprised at the 4th and 25?
Huh?
Were you surprised by the 4th and 25 decision there at the end of the game?
Yeah. I was, but what you gonna do?
I mean, what are you going to do, right? It was one of those deals to me where I was like, all right, look, either you're going to punt it and then try to get a 3 and out, or you go for it right now. And
like I said, what are you going to do? You mean, if you punt it away and hope to get a 3 and out, you don't have your big gun in there. You don't have your big gun on offense. Well, you got to do something. I mean, you're the defending champs. Got to make something happen. And
I'm okay. After week 1, and again, I know it's early. I'm wondering, and tell me if I'm crazy or not, and wouldn't be the first time you said this, and probably won't be the last. 2 guys jump out to me. Because look, the Chiefs are going to have to make a move. There's no way if this team wants to make a deep run to the playoffs again, they can make it with this receiving core that they've got as constructed right now. 2 guys that stand out to me right now that I would kick the tires on. Number 1, DJ Moore from the Chicago Bears, because I think Justin Fields looked terrible on Sunday.
Yeah, he's never going to get that guy the ball.
You're not, okay? Yeah. Look, Justin Fields might be the first guy we see in the NFL who changes positions, because I'll tell you what, the dude can run like nobody's business. I'm just not convinced he's ever going to be a full-time NFL quarterback. I would kick the tires on DJ Moore, especially since the GM from the Bears came from Kansas City. And then this one might be a little more pie in the sky, but I'd kick the tires, or I'd give Atlanta a call and say, hey, what you think about Kyle Pitts?
I don't think you're going to get Atlanta to give up Pitts.
You probably
yeah, I mean, you could try to, I mean, kick the tires is one thing, but actually getting somebody in there, you can go get the snow cone man. Get me somebody who's going to catch the ball. I don't care who it is. If it's got to be one of your practice player guys that's shown some ability to catch the ball, because Sunday was terrible. It was embarrassing to drop as many balls coming from a great passer who puts you in position to do nothing but succeed. And when it goes that way, it's like an old saying, afraid of success. Because there was no reason to drop those. They were in your hands.
They were in your hands. No questions asked. Sky Moore was probably my biggest. I mean, look, Kadarius Toney, again, he couldn't catch a cold on Thursday night. The only slight excuse I'm going to give him is that he did miss all of training camp, and it showed on Thursday night. But Sky Moore, okay, where was Sky Moore at? Number 24. Absolutely, for a guy that was, year 2 in your system, supposed to take that next step forward, had one catch. Of course, it got turned over by a holding call from Donovan Smith. But outside of that, he was a non-factor the entire night. And, you and I talked about this the weekend. Don't tell me you're a Wes Welker, Julian Edelman type, because look, those guys caught passes. Those guys found the holes in the zone, and number 24 did not the entire night. Something's got to give. And I'll tell you what, too, that really stood out for that Chiefs offense that was non-existent was the run game. Look, say what you want about the Jets. That run game looked damn good last night. Breece Hall is that dude.
Yeah.
Right now, don't have anybody even close to that right now.
There was no run game in with the Chiefs at all.
No.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes had 50 yards rushing, and the rest of them had 40.
Yeah, that's it.
That's horrific.
That tells y'all.
That's horrific. Yeah.
All right, real quick, we'll get you out of here with this, Henry Thomas. We'll get you out of here with this. Thursday night, you got Eagles, you got Vikings. Look, Vikings got to do something. Vikings need a W.
Of course they need a W. I mean, they're going to have to step up, and it's not an easy task against Philadelphia. Philadelphia played a very adequate game in New England, started out hot and kind of got complacent a little bit, thought, oh, this is where it's going to be, and then they didn't know they were playing against a master adjuster over there on the other side, came back and did some things to them, but Philadelphia is going to be a hard task for Minnesota, and they need a W, and they might have to wait till week 3.
They're going to have to. Real quick, our boy Mike just chimed in. How would the Chiefs free up money to get a Fields or a Moore? Well, Fields you're not worried about because he's a quarterback, so you're not worried about getting him. As far as DJ Moore is concerned, you can always restructure a contract or two and make that.
And we'll just give him another incentive deal.
That's just it. Just give an incentive-laden contract. Apparently, that's all it takes. But real quick, last thing on the Chris Jones front. Does this confirm to you that this is his last year in a Chiefs uniform?
Yeah, without a doubt. And for the season gets, if we get deep into the playoffs, and let's say he's not getting those numbers, like it looks like those numbers might be a little out of reach.
Yeah.
Start whispering, hey, how about a trade? First round pick for Chris Jones for the season's over.
It'll be too late though, because you figure because the trade deadline's week 8.
Hey, trade him.
The trade him. Well, you're not gonna. I mean, look, to me, this is a walk-off contract year for Chris Jones.
Okay.
Plus, let's call it what it is, man. He's already 29, going to be 30. I mean, look.
That's easy. That's prime time for D-line. Easy.
Okay, so you're saying, so you're not the age. I mean, look, this is year I think 8 for him. So the age and the years you ain't worried about that.
No, I left Minnesota after 8 years. I was 28, 29 years old.
Yeah.
And stepped up and had one of my best years ever next time around. 10.5 sacks from the nose sack position, 100 tackles. Come on now. I'm not worried about the age. I'm worried about the going out and wanting to do it.
Yeah.
Going out and wanting to do it. And then when you go to And sometimes when you go to a new spot, like, I don't know, maybe it was just me, but I always felt like I had something to prove. Even though they were saying, we want you. Like when I went to Detroit, they wanted me, but I still felt like there was something I had to prove. I'm not just, this ain't just a pretty face. I'm bringing the funk. And then when I went to New England, same deal.
And I know you've told me that you've talked about this time and time again. If and when he does leave after the season, a good chance he would go to a division rival.
Possibly. The division. I'll tell you, the Raiders are gonna come. The Raiders gonna come hunting big time.
Because at that point, if you're Chris Jones, you just want to get paid.
Oh yeah. By that time, you want bring the money. Bring the money. I'll show up.
If the Chiefs get a third Super Bowl and he's got 3 Super Bowls under his ring or under his belt,
oh yeah,
shit, he might go to Arizona.
Yeah,
I can see him coming to Houston.
Ooh, now if he go to Houston, I'm gonna know he don't care. He's done.
It's about the money at that point.
Oh yeah, if he go somewhere like Houston, I'll be like, oh, he finished.
He's just collecting a check at that point.
Yep.
Shout out to our boy Mike, may or may not be Fields, chiming in on the show as well. All right, so you got the Eagles winning on Thursday?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Don't show that to no Viking fans because they're gonna crucify me. But I'll tell them on Sunday myself. I mean, on Thursday myself.
Are you going to be in Minnesota this weekend?
No, I got a bowling tournament this weekend. I stay busy, man. I'm golfing. I'm bowling. I'm living my best life.
You are living your best life. If only the Miami Dolphin defensive line took all that great tutelage from Henry Thomas. But we know the Lions did. They're going to
get right.
No, they will. Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. I got to give a huge shout, as always, to the greatest D lineman in the history of the NFL, my man Henry Thomas. Shout out to our boy Jake Asman as well. Tomorrow, we've got our boy Bitter Mike Babbo. We're going to do a little Wednesday recap of Week 1, and then we'll kind of look ahead to Week 2. And then, of course, Thursday, I've got Chris Hodge from TakingVegas.com. Talk a little gambling, sports, and then whatever else we get into. So, for the one, the only Henry Thomas, I am still that dude, Freddie D. Follow Henry at Henry Thomas NFL on both Instagram as well as X. And then, of course, you can follow me at the Freddie D. Shout out, as always, to our boy Taylor Bell from Chief Studios. Be sure to subscribe to the program and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You will be glad that you did. For the one, the only Henry Thomas, I'm still that dude, Freddie D. H-Town, Kansas City, and all points in between. We love you.
Peace.